Let's talk about something that feels hard to name, something that makes most people uncomfortable, maybe even afraid to admit they've felt. That deep down knowing that something unseen might be influencing your life. Not everything that happens to us is spiritual warfare, but not everything either. There are times when life doesn't just feel difficult, it feels targeted. Like you're caught in a web that someone else spun. And let me be clear, life is hard. Sometimes it just is. Things fall apart. People disappoint us. We make mistakes. We learn. But there's a difference between life being hard and life feeling like it's hunting you. Have you ever had a season where things kept going wrong again and again until it no longer felt like coincidence? You fix one thing and something else breaks. You get your head above water and another wave crashes down. You start telling yourself it's just bad luck, or maybe I'm doing something wrong. But somewhere deep in your gut, where fear and truth often whisper to each other, you begin to feel this isn't just life being life. This feels targeted. I'm talking about when patterns emerge. You land a great opportunity and it falls through at the last second. Every time you try to move forward, be it a new job, a relationship, a creative project, something blocks you. Unexpected expenses hit all at once, your car, your health, your home. You're surrounded by confusion, delays, miscommunication, and loss. Doors you know were meant for you slam shut without explanation. And it happens not once, not twice, but over and over again. When life feels like a long string of sabotage, when chaos and loss arrive in waves that feel orchestrated, you have to stop and ask, what's going on here beneath the surface? Because sometimes when someone is using occult or spiritual manipulation against you, they don't show up with a cloak and a candle. They show up in your life as invisible interference. They channel their energy, intentionally or not, into blocking your path, stealing your peace, and destabilizing your journey. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, calculated, repetitive. And if you've been taught to dismiss spiritual attacks as paranoia, then you'll ignore your own intuition as just anxiety. You'll try to fix spiritual problems with practical solutions and wonder why nothing changes. But listen, your patterns are speaking to you. When breakdowns keep happening where breakthrough should be, that's not just misfortune, that's a message. It's your spirit saying, wake up, something's wrong. And waking up doesn't mean living in fear. It means becoming aware. Awareness is the first tool of freedom. So if this sounds familiar, if you've been stuck in what feels like a long stretch of misfortune that doesn't add up, you won't brush it off. Your life isn't supposed to feel cursed. Your gifts weren't made to be blocked. Your joy wasn't meant to be stolen. It's okay to admit that something spiritual might be going on, because once you name it, you can face it. Once you face it, you can break it. You're not powerless, but you do have to stop ignoring the signs. This is your wake-up call. There's a type of fatigue that doesn't make sense on paper. You get your 8 hours, you eat well, you exercise, you even carve out time for rest, and still you wake up tired, not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, existentially, and no one seems to understand it. People tell you you're just stressed, or maybe you need to take it easy, and yes, sure, those things help, but deep down, you know this isn't normal tired. This is something that's weighing on my soul, tired. Says, I feel like I'm carrying a weight that doesn't belong to me, tired. Energy feels drained before the day even begins. Your joy feels muted. Even your thoughts seem heavier, like your mind is swimming through fog. And here's the hardest part. It starts to make you question yourself. You think, am I depressed? Am I lazy? Am I just weak? You begin to believe the lie that something is wrong with you. But let me gently offer you a possibility. What if this exhaustion is not a weakness? What if it's a signal? What if the fatigue, the fog, the numbness is your system's way of telling you something foreign is draining your life force? Spiritual attacks, especially those tied to occult influence, rarely feel like lightning bolts. They feel like slow leaks. They're subtle, invisible. They creep in through thoughts, emotions, relationships, and suddenly you're not sure who you are anymore. Your clarity, your energy, your drive, it's all just gone. You find yourself second guessing everything. You feel like you're losing grip on your own center. That's not just burnout. That's a spiritual hijacking. And when you're under that kind of influence, it becomes easy to internalize the pain as personal failure. You say, I should be stronger. Other people get through worse. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. But here's the truth. Sensitivity is not weakness. Sensitivity is awareness. And if you're sensing that something isn't right, something unseen, something heavy, you need to stop ignoring that knowing. You weren't meant to live in a constant state of depletion. You weren't designed to run on empty while pretending you're okay. If your soul is sending out a distress signal, listen. Yes, it could be trauma. Yes, it could be burnout. But what if it's also something deeper? What if someone, consciously or not, is sending energy your way with the intent to control, confuse, or diminish you? Here's the thing. When someone uses occult practices against you, one of the primary symptoms is an energetic collapse. It's not flashy. It's not cinematic. It's quiet, slow, numbing. It's like a light dimming that you didn't even realize was on in the first place. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because it wears you down in layers until you stop fighting, until you normalize the heaviness, until you forget what feeling light even felt like. So how do you fight back? You reclaim your space. You call your energy home. You protect your spirit the way you would protect a child, fiercely, unapologetically, and without delay. You begin to untangle what's yours and what's been projected onto you. And you tell the truth. I'm not crazy. I'm not lazy. I'm not broken. I'm under pressure that was never mine to carry. And today, I choose to release it. You don't need to understand it all to start healing. You just need to stop ignoring what your body and spirit have been trying to tell you all along. Your energy is sacred, and anyone or anything that tries to siphon it without your consent doesn't belong in your space. You have the right to feel whole, to feel rested, to feel like yourself again. This isn't just about breaking free. It's about remembering who you were before you were drained. And you still are that person. They're just waiting for you to come back. They are the quiet places where our soul speaks, where our subconscious processes what our waking minds can't always hold. But what happens when that sacred space is invaded? What happens when sleep no longer feels like rest but a battlefield? All right, let me tell you something that might affirm what you already suspect. Not all nightmares are random. Not all dreams are your subconscious mind at play. Sometimes they are messages, and sometimes they are attacks. If you've ever gone through a season where your dreams became darker, more violent, or unusually symbolic, you know what I mean. Maybe you're seeing shadows, choking, falling, being chased. Maybe you wake up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, too scared to close your eyes again. Or maybe you're dreaming of things you don't understand, symbols, rituals, faces you don't recognize, but they feel real, too real. And here's the thing, the worst part isn't always the dream itself. It's the feeling that something followed you back into the waking world. That heaviness, that fear, that sense that you weren't alone while you slept. If this is happening regularly, night after night, week after week, it is not something to ignore, because sleep is sacred. And when that space is consistently disturbed, it's a sign that something has crossed a boundary. When someone uses occult powers against you through ritual, projection, or spiritual manipulation, they often target the dream space. Because dreams are vulnerable. Because the boundary between the conscious and the unseen is thin there. Because they can plant fear where there should be peace. Because they know if they can disrupt your sleep, they can weaken your spirit. And over time, that kind of disruption does more than just disturb you, it starts to erode you. You stop sleeping well. You wake up tired, anxious, angry, or disoriented. Your days are foggy because your nights are chaotic. Your intuition becomes harder to hear because your inner world is under siege. People will try to rationalize it. They'll say, you're just stressed. I don't take dreams so seriously. But here's what I want you to hear loud and clear. You are allowed to take your dreams seriously. You are allowed to honor your intuition. You are allowed to say something is not right. This is not about living in fear. It's about paying attention to what your soul is trying to tell you. And maybe, just maybe, it's telling you, you are being watched. You are being targeted. You are being messed with on a spiritual level. But here's what else you need to know. Your dreams are also a place of power. They're not just where things happen to you. They're where you can take authority. That means praying before sleep, clearing your space, spiritually and energetically, setting intentions before you close your eyes. I do not receive anything not sent by love. Speaking out loud. No darkness is welcome here. No spirit has access to me without permission. Calling back your power every morning. Whatever tried to attach to me last night is not mine, and I release it now. When you start reclaiming your dream life, you begin to close the spiritual portals that were opened without your consent. Because your sleep is not just about rest, it's about recovery. And you deserve to recover, to feel safe, to close your eyes at night and feel protected, not pursued. If your nights have become haunted, don't just treat it like a bad phase. Treat it like what it might be, a spiritual invasion, and start taking your authority back. You are not helpless. You are not crazy. And you are not alone. And this is not where your story ends. This is where you stop running and start rising. Our people are our mirror, our sanctuary, our source of support in a world that often feels unsteady. So when those relationships suddenly crack, it can shake us to our core. I'm not talking about natural endings, the kind that come with distance, growth, or changes in season. I'm talking about when things fall apart without explanation, without logic, and without warning. A close friend turns cold overnight. A romantic partner pulls away for no reason, and communication dies without a trace. You start arguing with loved ones about things that don't even matter. Trust erodes where there was once loyalty. People begin to misunderstand you, misrepresent you, and misjudge your intentions, even when your heart is clear. At first, you try to explain it away. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe you said something wrong. Maybe it's a coincidence. But then it happens again and again. The breakdowns start to stack. And they don't feel random anymore. They feel orchestrated, engineered, manipulated. If you're noticing a pattern of people turning against you, isolating you, or disconnecting from you without valid cause, stop and pay attention. Because sometimes when someone is using occult power or spiritual interference against you, one of the most effective tactics is relational sabotage. Why? Because isolation is a spiritual vulnerability. When you're cut off from your tribe, your clarity dims, your confidence slips, your discernment gets foggy. That's exactly what darkness wants, to corner you emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Because when you're surrounded by confusion, you're easier to control, easier to manipulate, easier to break. And here's what makes it even more insidious. It doesn't always come from your enemies. It comes through the people you trust the most. And suddenly your inner circle feels like a minefield. This kind of sabotage isn't always loud. It's subtle. Seeds of doubt are planted in conversations behind your back. Misunderstandings happen repeatedly, no matter how clear you try to be. Friends begin to sense something off about you, something that was never there. You feel misunderstood, misrepresented, and spiritually slandered. You find yourself thinking, what is going on? Did I do something wrong? Why is everyone pulling away from me? And the truth is, you may have done nothing wrong. You may just be under spiritual siege. When someone channels occult energy to harm or control, one of their key strategies is to disconnect you from your support systems. They want to create confusion, conflict, distance, because without connection, you start to shrink. You start to silence yourself. You start to believe you're alone. But hear this, you are not alone. You are not the problem. And this isn't your fault. You are under pressure that was designed to isolate you. But here's the thing. They forgot one critical truth. You are allowed to reclaim your space. You don't have to beg people to stay who've been spiritually manipulated to leave. You don't have to explain your soul to people who are choosing not to understand it. What you do need to do is trust yourself. Trust what you know you said, even if it's been twisted. Trust what you know you gave, even if it's been dismissed. Trust that your relationships didn't fall apart because you were unworthy. They fell apart because someone didn't want you surrounded by love. And if that's true, then it's also true that you can rebuild. You can call in relationships that are protected, covered, aligned, because you deserve people in your life who can't be turned against you by a rumor, a lie, or a hex. You deserve connection that isn't easily broken. You deserve love that is rooted in truth. If you've experienced sudden breakages that don't make sense, name it. Say it out loud. Something is trying to isolate me, and I will not let it. Start surrounding yourself with people who pray with you, not prey on you. People who speak life into you, not gossip about you behind your back. People whose spirits are clean enough not to be used as channels for darkness. You are not too much. You are not cursed. You are not crazy. You are simply in a battle that requires spiritual awareness. And the moment you recognize